You're right, there's Mark from 6 Plus Save. Apologising for the long time in uploading a video between the last battle report, which was Underworld, and now this is an update video to let you all know what's been going on and the plans going forward. So a lot of you may be aware that me and the other half have moved properties. So that's why there's been a lot of hiatus from the channel, because basically concentrating on moving in the property, getting things established, but also using this time to be like a clean slate, wipe the slate clean, and just get everything done what we want to get done and need to get done. And this has also given me a chance to actually sit back and reevaluate what I want with this channel and what I can do with it realistically starting off. So basically this video is going to be going over the main hobby room that we've both got, and then I'll be doing a short secondary video down the line of the actual game room that's been set up for bigger games, and you know, the idea behind that of doing battle reports. So catch me in a moment. I'll just explain what's going on in this hobby room and future videos that I've got planned. Alright there, so Mark here. So as you can see, this is going to be more of a vlog. So as you can see behind, this is the actual hobby space. So obviously this is my chair. Basically I've been wanting this chair back for a little while, but I haven't been able to have it in the annex because it was far too small. But as you can see, I've got my hobby desk set up. Obviously I've got my recording stand, but I've got my display cases that my dad was able to find. I just want to do a little bit of TLC on some of the final ones. I'll do some close-up shots in a minute of basically sorting out the shelves. But as you can see, it's perfect for my larger figurines. Obviously I've then got beside it the actual PC, the beast itself. May need a bit of updating down the line. She is running a bit older, but she's still working absolutely fine. If I continue around, obviously, you know, there's the chair for it. This is the hobby supply crate shelving. So this is a load of cases, some boxes, KR cases, storage boxes, so on and so forth. All right, as you can see, this is quite useful. I do a video explain how to store your paints a bit easier for organisation. Sometimes you can have paints dotted all over the place. I've got a wet palette now, so I'm going to be going over basically my experience with changing over from just a palette to an actual wet palette. It's quite enlightening. All right. Obviously that is the main entrance to the hobby room. All right. This is the built-in wardrobe, so clothing, stuff like that. That's winter clothes, you know, the better half. Winter clothes stored away. But up here, all right, is obviously the cupboard of maybe regret. So I've got a load of boxes up in there, you know, stored away, ready to have done in the future. And down here is basically an assortment of future projects and ideas that I'll go over in a minute for videos. But underneath here is basically a definite video that I'll be doing of the really useful box storage. As you can see, it's really quite useful for anything that's a bit more delicate. But I'll be back in one moment. I'll flip it around to normal view, and I'll go over the actual content of future videos for the next, you know, say month or so, and see you in a second. Alright, so I'm back. So obviously you've got a normal view. So obviously this is the wet palette that I got hold of, the P3 Formula wet palette, with obviously some sheets and the paint storage. So those are two future videos I'm going to do. It's more like an actual first person, you know, impression of how a wet palette is, pros and cons. This is obviously storage options, because I did notice myself I've got a metric ton of paints, so sometimes it's quite useful being able to have some organization to actually help out. And if you're brand new to, you know, tabletop painting, you know, tabletop gaming painting, sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming with what paints to get and how to store them effectively so they don't bung up, you know, it's just really useful. All right, so those are 2 videos that I'm looking at doing in the future. I'll worry about the table in a second. This is one that I'm definitely going to be doing down the line. Is basically some places have or some channels already done this, but I just thought I'd give it my spin. The old magnet tray setup. So as you can see there, they don't shift. And yes, don't get me wrong, I got a lot of cases down here, but that's a lot of different armies. There's some really fragile, you know, models in there. And in all honesty, if you went for the foam style casing or the special metal casing that you can get online, it can get very expensive. So that's another video. Reviewing basically my idea behind it, or how I implemented certain ways around it, and how you can do it and how you can adapt it. But anyway, now onto the table here. So you may be going, what on earth is this? Basically, this is my experience. I had it a little while ago. Homemade wash. Making terrain and stuff like that, like you can see in the background, but also batch painting a lot of models and using washes to assist you and stuff like that. If you go for certain brands out there, main, you know, tabletop wargaming brands, they can get very expensive. They are good, don't get me wrong, but if you can make your own variant, you get it for a fraction of the price. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of channels out there that have already done it, but I just thought I'd give it my spin, and it's very simple to do. So that's that one. That's another one. This is then the terrain section. So as you can all gather, I want to do battle reports. I want them to be very, you know, how do I put it? Very appealing to the eye. I don't want plastic on, you know, I don't want plain plastic on there. I don't want just plain, you know, unpainted terrain on there, but I'm not going to pay through the nose for it either. I want it that it does the job and it looks very good, and I want to put my own spin on it. I like crafting my own stuff, and always very crafting, mechanical, and you know, I like making stuff. So as you can see here, I've got hold of some MDF terrain, all right, that I'm going to be actually reviewing the actual box set here, showing off the pros and cons for it. But then in a second video, how I actually painted it really simply. I painted these 2 in basically 10 minutes flat, 10 to 20 minutes tops, and I have to admit they look fairly good. Then this is going over some basic other terrain. This was quite literally a spray and 2 paints. So I just want to do a channel of how you could get some terrain on the board, paint it, make it look good, and it's on the board. Not a lot of people like painting terrain, but if it looks nice, you feel better about it. Then actually making your own terrain, all right? You don't have to just always buy terrain, whether that's MDF terrain, foam terrain, 3D printed terrain, plastic terrain, whatever it is, you can make your own. So as you can see here, this is some actual cement tubes, whatever you want to call it, and I made my own version of barrels out of it. Barrels surprisingly can be expensive if you get them from tabletop gaming suppliers. These ones here, they were less than a quarter of the price. Alright, from a lot of main retailers. You can see there, I'm quite pleased with them, and I've designed them in a certain way to be quite good for scattered terrain. But that'll be another video. These ones are going to be their own video as well, and then the mindset behind these, another video. As you can see here, this is actually some MDF terrain. Why I actually chose to use MDF terrain over 3D printed and actual mainstream plastic terrain. But my mindset of how I actually, you know, got the texture on there really simply. I added some bits on here like tiles and how I painted it. That'll be another video on that. This here, I like my fantasy and so on and so forth. I was swimming in a load of resources and I wanted to build some more stuff. I'm going to be showing you how to build some very simple rudimentary plateau style, you know, hills. See what you all think of that. In the background, you probably eyeballed it from the very beginning. How I get like a pride rock you know, into tabletop standard and swap, like, this is fine, but how do I turn a fish tank ornament, into something that will match my other terrain? So that's going to be a video down the line as well. And then in the back here, there's some next projects. Reviewing this set here. I haven't actually used it. This set behind me that I've already painted was a slightly different sculpt. But let's see how this MDF actually works out. You know, the pros and cons, as I said. But this is my big project for terrain. This is a whole board for 40k. And this is going to be a little bit of a job. But basically, this is going to be another, probably a two-parter. Basically going over how it's packed, how it's built, the quality of it, how easy it is to paint, and how it looks actually on the board. Obviously going back to how the place is set up, as you can see there, I've got my one of my recording stands, obviously my spot here for obviously painting, paints and all this and all that. Showing off your minis. This is quite a nice one. If you've got your painted minis out on display, it gives you that confidence boost to actually be like, yeah, I can paint them. Oh, I need to paint this to go with that. Along the top, there's a mixture of painted and unpainted. Obviously, one of the twins that I'm doing at the moment, she's painted, she's not. Obviously, with Soul Blight coming out, my death has been able to get a bit of a restart, and I'm quite pleased with that. So, as you can see, I'm generally really quite happy with what the plans are for the future of 6+ save, but always wanting feedback. As I said, I'll be doing a video in the very near future of the actual gaming setup for how I'm actually going to record battle reports using this terrain that I've spent a while actually building. Not going to lie, you know, I spent a good fortnight or so building it. But any feedback, future projects, if you want to get involved or anything like that, let me know. And I hope to hear from you all soon. You take care of yourself.